10 takeaways from a tumultuous final Saturday of September in college football: 1. Bye Butch. Ed Orgeron has one fan left in the Southeastern Conference. His name is Butch Jones. Orgeron's utterly inept month as the head coach at LSU bottomed out in a dreadful home loss to Troy, which at least partially changed the subject from the disaster Jones oversaw in Neyland Stadium. The last time Tennessee lost by more points at home than it did Saturday, the year was 1918. Because of World War I, the school didn't even field a formal varsity team, instead constructing an unofficial team out of Army recruits and students. That's how Sewanee 68, Tennessee 0, happened, on November 2 of that year. 99 years later, Georgia 41, Tennessee 0, might mark the effective end of Butch Jones's tenure in Knoxville. Here in Year 5, after a lot of recruiting success, a once-a-century home defeat should push his tenure toward the brink. The Volunteers were astonishingly inept offensively, producing just 142 yards and 7 first downs, while turning the ball over 4 times. If any play was emblematic of their putrid performance, it was one in the third quarter in which the Vols were flagged for 2 different holding infractions, on a 1-yard run. That is not fake news, a term Jones applied to media coverage of his team earlier in the week. Those are facts. Butch would like to pin his program's travails on the media, but he's far more deserving of blame. Here's another fact: Tennessee is 0-2 this year against Georgia and Florida, greatly increasing the likelihood that the Vols will not win the SEC East for the 10th consecutive season. Which, given the shoddy state of that division in recent years, is an indictment of the Tennessee program that Jones was supposed to be rebuilding brick by brick, to quote one of his catchphrases. Heading into a bye week, Jones must find a way to instill some hope into what feels like a hopeless situation. The flip side of Tennessee's trauma is Georgia's joy. The Bulldogs are playing at an increasingly high level as the season progresses. In consecutive weeks, Georgia has won SEC games by a combined score of 72-3, throttling Mississippi State the week before. The Dogs have allowed a total of just 183 passing yards in those 2 games, playing defense the way you'd anticipate a Kirby Smart team would play. Offensively, freshman quarterback Jake Fromm has taken hold of that position more by being more steady than spectacular. He hands off the most of the time, because the Georgia backs are spectacular. Fromm became the starter after Jacob Eason was hurt early in the season opener, but Eason is now healthy enough to play and Fromm is still the guy. Georgia now is 5-0. With games against Vanderbilt and Missouri plus a bye week before playing Florida October 28 in a contest that could well decide the SEC East. The Dogs still have difficult trips to Auburn and Georgia Tech in November, but all signs are pointing to this being the breakthrough season Georgia fans have been envisioning for years. Of course, any of those fans looking ahead to facing Alabama in Atlanta for the SEC championship might want to check what the Crimson Tide is doing thus far in league play. A week after beating Vanderbilt 59-0, they annihilated Mississippi 66-3. The days of the Rebels upsetting or scaring Bama are officially over. 3. Pac-12 After Dark. The Pac-12 After Dark movement has been a fun Twitter hashtag to commemorate last call football. With Washington State out to a 5-0 start and the trappings of a once-in-a-generation type season beginning to appear in Pullman, it's worth asking if the late kickoffs have hurt Washington State's bid for national attention. Washington State's 47-44 triple overtime victory against Boise ended at 2:42 a.m. EST. And the Cougars' 30-27 upset of USC on Friday night ended at 2:10 a.m. EST.